Greetings, YouTube. ¿Qué onda, güey? ¿Qué pasó? What's going on? Doing a little troll patrol today. So I seem to have been attracting a few more recently with my couple reaction videos I did to Mark lowercase k and to Russell J. Gould. Although I will say, there's one fella that commented that came from Russell J. Gould's sector. He's a Russell J. Gould follower, acolyte, whatever you want to call it. But he was very polite and started out asking me why I was name calling. Well, it was like a quantum gobbledygook sentence, but I know what he meant. He was asking me why am I name calling. I'm not name calling anyone. What I'm doing is calling out and critiquing the contradictions in Russell J. Gould's words and his actions, and also calling out the fact that he does not use correct sentence structure, communication, parsing, syntax, grammar, that there are multiple errors in every single one of his public documents. In the live life claim that he sells to people, I can prove it. And I have proven it again and again and again. But when I do that, people think that I'm name calling or I'm attacking him. I'm not. Another guy said that, why are you disqualifying this or that? I don't disqualify anyone. I have never named one video where I have actually said the words, this guy is disqualified. I don't do that. That's for junior high soap opera drama people. No, what I do is I call people out on their incorrect grammar. I'm trying to show people, to give people a roadmap and show them where the potholes are. Show them where the mud pits are. Show them where the steep banks are that, you know, if they put one tire over it, they're going to tumble down and they're going to get hurt. You can't say I didn't tell you. But some people think that that's, I don't know. They take it on a personal level when they're so perhaps emotionally invested in following a leader. And that's what happens with cults. A cult leader will inspire that type of devotion in their devotees. They get very emotionally invested. And when you criticize their leader, they get very upset about it. Sort of like when you get, a couple people arguing about religion. Whose God is the real God? Whose imaginary friend is the real imaginary friend? They get very, very emotionally upset about it because they're emotionally invested. It's also known as protagonist-centered morality. You can look that one up. It's a pretty useful fiction term where in a story, you have the protagonist, which is the hero. And if you become emotionally invested in the hero in a movie or a book or something, and then the hero does something shady, you tend to apologize for them because you're already emotionally invested in them, and, well, you start making excuses for him. Well, it's because of this. Oh, it's because of that. He's not a bad guy. You know what I'm talking about. So that's another way to put it. If you look at the Democratic and Republican parties for a great example, their leaders. Each leader can do no wrong in the followers' eyes. And if they do, they make excuses for it. It's very simple. The purpose and function of this stream, however, is to try and catch some trolls on here. Which is interesting because I do, the viewer, I'm watching the view count keeps going up and down and up and down and up and down. Where are these people that have the guts to write a rude, presumptuous comment? Where are those people, I wonder? The type of people that like to hide behind keyboards and things like that. But they won't come on a live stream. These live streams are public, by the way. I don't usually restrict them. Sometimes certain videos I will restrict the comments to subscribers so that if you want to comment, all you got to do is click the subscribe button and you can comment. But this is open to the public. So not only am I putting myself out there, although you may say, well, I don't see your face, but you can hear my voice. And for Rule 1, Rule Equal, I can read your words, you can hear my voice. I can't see you, you can't see me. That's called leveling the geometric field of communication. Those are simple judge mechanics, folks. It would be great if the viewers that are on, and I do see that there are viewers here, if the viewers could log in, just check in, say hi, whatever. You can share your correct name if you want to. I know most people are kind of shy. They don't want to do that. But if you could just type in hi, hello, whatever, so I can see who's here. And of course, if you have a question, do not hesitate to ask. I'll answer it the best that I can. If you have a criticism, don't hesitate to pop it in there. Whatever it is, it's cool with me. This is the Troll Patrol. And if you are a troll, and if you got the guts, go ahead and step up to the comments field. Put your little troll comment on there. I'm looking forward to it. And don't worry, because I don't take anything personally. And I highly recommend, for the safety of your vessel, for the aegis of your vessel, you do the same. Because when you start taking things personally, that's when things start going sideways. Well, okay, so I'll just start talking about TikTok. That's something that I'm kind of excited about. My TikTok channel has taken off with, to use a marked lowercase k term, escape velocity. It has really taken off. I'm pretty happy about it. The TikTok platform is way different than the YouTube platform. The type of viewer that's over on TikTok is way different than your YouTube viewer. And the only way that you would probably really be able to know that is if you yourself were a content creator on YouTube and then you tried to go over to TikTok, or vice versa. Like, I've seen TikTokers who are really content creators on TikTok who are really, really TikTok famous. And they try to go over to YouTube. They try to patch together their TikTok videos into a YouTube video, and they just don't really have the success over there that they have on TikTok, and vice versa. Very, very, very few people are cross-platform successful. Very few people. I'm hoping to be successful at it because I see all these Freemasons over on TikTok, and they make no secret of it that they're Freemasons. Dozens and dozens and dozens of Freemasons over there. And also they have like live streams from Supreme Court and things like that. And I've actually got in on some of those live streams in the comments field and started discussions with attorneys and things, well, people that claim to be attorneys and stuff. And every time I do that, I either end up, getting thrown out or blocked or ignored. Because, there's always just one question that I ask. I start out with a claim saying that the system is rotten from its core. It is literally rotten from the core. I don't care if you are a proponent of the legal system as it exists, or whether you're a proponent of common law, or you're a proponent of common lore, whatever fiction, adjective, pronoun you want to call it. It's fiction, and it's rotten from the core. Why is that? The reason is because if you're an attorney and you go to school to become certified by the Bar Association to be an attorney, to be a member of that club, it doesn't matter if your intent is to be honorable, to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. At some point, you are going to be called to the carpet to represent someone that you know is guilty. And if you're successful in that case, and they get a not guilty verdict, you have just participated in a deception because you knew they were guilty and you represented them and you got them off the hook. They got away with whatever they were doing. That's one of many reasons why the system is rotten from the core. Now, people might say, well, everybody deserves the right to a fair trial. Really? Does a pedophile deserve a right to a fair trial? Does a cold-blooded murderer deserve a right to a fair trial? Does a domestic abuser caught on video deserve a right to a fair trial? This is the illusion that we've been under. And that's why the fiction system is rotten, and that's why it's going to continue to suck money out of you when you get involved in it. Like I say, it's like a pig in a pigsty. You can get in there, and you can get in the mud and the shit, but it's up to you how long you want to stay in there, because it does not matter whether you win or lose the wrestling match with the pig. By the time you're done, you're going to be covered in blood and shit and mud. And the pig doesn't care because the pig loves it, because there's plenty more people that want to wrestle. They don't care. That's how I look at it. We got quite a few people on here now. As I said, please go ahead, say hi. Let me know who's here. If you got a question, I'd be more than happy to answer it. I had some individual from, I think they were from Australia. Hold on a minute. Let me get another device here so I can look at the comment that I saw. I published it. Guy from Australia. I'll address it in my next comments video, of course. But this will be a funny thing. Hang with me here for a minute while I pull it up. Okay. There's someone named Kevin Japanangda. Whatever. Kevin. They said, your so-called key is missing something matey. Get it right or go home, in all caps. We don't condone American liars or people who misuse David's technology. And he wrote that in adverb, verb, adjective, pronoun. Now, I don't know where this guy's coming from. I have a feeling there is another contingent in Australia where, well, he says we. Like, I don't know what he means by we. Does he have a mouse in his pocket? Do you have an imaginary friend? And I guess I am making a guess that he is from Australia, but they're the only people that I know of that say matey. But I have a feeling, just a sensation, that this guy's from a contingent down in Australia, that there's some federal postal judge down there, well, they claim to be a federal postal judge, Stephen somebody or another, who, again, does not have closure on the grammar. I've seen the documents. He's contacted me, and I've shown him, hey, look at this. This is an error, that's an error, this is an error, that's an error. What's going on here? And he stopped talking to me, which I don't really understand, because if someone's volition is to be correct, why wouldn't they want to learn? I mean, I'm kind of, I guess, projecting my own attitude on someone else, because that's how I am. If I'm doing something wrong and someone has the knowledge base and knowledge level to point out, hey, Jason, you're doing this wrong, bro, and this is how you fix it. See, this is how it works. If you have that knowledge base to be able to explain it to me, I am all ears. I will publicly stop and correct, and I'll give you credit. I've done it in the past. That's what it takes to cultivate humility, which is what I really try to do. And that's an important part of getting closure on this grammar, by the way. Jeff Luis, :G/P says, plenty of questions for when we chat privately. Meanwhile, I keep it going. Loving everything so far. Well, hey, yeah, as long as they're grammar questions, although I'm not sure what type of grammar questions would be needed to be asked in the private, although I do understand that most people kind of get embarrassed when they ask questions in the public, because, I mean, I was the same way when I was a beginner. I was afraid. I didn't want to look stupid. And a lot of people feel the same way, even though they probably don't want to admit it. I understand that. But I had to get over that real quick. Real quick. That's why I never take anything personally, because then I never get embarrassed. Thanks for the kind words. To get back to this guy from Australia, he says, we don't condone American liars. So what does he mean by that? Is he calling me a liar? Or is he saying Americans are liars in general? And what Americans is he talking about? North America, South America, Central America? What's he talking about? Then he says people who misuse David's technology. Well, I certainly don't misuse it, because misuse means not to use. So if anyone's misusing David's technology, it's Kevin, because he has shown no evidence of any correct sentence structure, communication, parsing, syntax, grammar, knowledge at all. Quite the contrary, his comment shows me that he probably has little to no knowledge of it. Because someone who really did add closure on it would never, ever say something like that. Because when you... This is going to be difficult. This is a challenging part of it to convey. When you get to the point when you can use this, you know it well enough, like the back of your hand, you can explain it to another individual, you can write a claim, you can syntax and give closure to your syntax values, you have closure on all your finite means and your facts. Once you reach that point, you would never write a comment like that. You would never say something like that. I'll give an example. Well, today, all right, because it was confidential, I can't give away too much about it. But today, I had a workshop with someone who took a year off. They had done a few workshops last year, pretty consistent, and at times they struggled with the grammar, and they also struggled with coming out of Russell J. Gould's construct. They were a part of Russell J. Gould's construct for a while, but they weren't learning anything over there. They were getting mixed signals. They could see the mistakes in the grammar, and they wanted to know why there were mistakes, and no one would answer their questions. So they came to me. So we began doing workshops. And every time, like in the first couple workshops, every time I would start teaching the grammar, they would say, well, Russell says this. Russell says that. And then I would say, okay, well then, why is that? Show me your closure. And then they would say, well, I don't know any closure. I just know that he says that. I said, well, that's not closure. Eventually, they stuck with it, and they realized, wow, Russell J. Gould's whole system is based on assumption, presumption. Anyways, long story short, they took a year off. They came back today and did a workshop with me. And let me tell you something, it was awesome. This individual did something that I have never seen anyone else do in over 5 years of teaching hundreds of people all over the earth. This person took a year off, came back, and they were more improved than they were in the last workshop a year ago. They had improved. They had studied, they'd learned. I'd say they're about 90% there. And it's amazing to me that someone can do that, because very few will do that. Most people, if they take a year off, they backslide and they have to start all over. This person didn't do that. This person stepped up to the plate. This person wants to be autonomous, and they're determined to do that. Very determined. And it makes me feel really good to know that, you know, as many people as don't get it, as many people that fall into the pitfalls of RJG or MKC or KEYMOUSE, you know, that whole Mickey Mouse, whatever. For every one or two that don't, and they actually get closure on the grammar, makes it all worth it. It really does. And this person really, you know, kind of restored my faith that there are actually people out here who really do want to learn this and are serious about it and will do what it takes and become autonomous, because that's my whole thing. I want to teach people to the point where they don't have to look back there over their shoulder at me and say, oh, what would Jason do? Jason, is it okay if I do this? No, they don't have to do that, because they know enough to be on their own, and they don't need anybody's help except their own. Autonomous. That's the whole deal. Those other constructs are built up to maintain dependency. Like if you look at RJG's construct or MKC's construct, those longtime people that are with them, the longtime cult followers, are still totally 100% dependent upon, they're hanging on Russell's every word. Just go to one of their meetings and they'll be like, well, Chief said this, and whoever has the most recent Chief quote holds the floor and has everyone's awe and respect. It's so weird. No, thank you. This channel is for those that want to learn the grammar themselves. And I do have a style of teaching. Not everybody likes it. It's very straightforward. It's very direct. I don't beat around the bush. And at times it's confrontational. Believe me, if you have trouble dealing with me in a confidential workshop setting where I'm asking you questions and you get flustered or you get upset or whatever, then how do you think you're gonna do when you're actually in a very dangerous situation with people that are out to harm you in the fiction? You're gonna fold like a lawn chair. So it's just like martial arts. You get in there and you spar, you do full contact sparring, you go hard, you find out what it's like to be punched in the face, to get kicked in the ribs, get punched in the kidney, get kicked in the leg, to be the victim of a violent double leg takedown, and what to do when you're on the ground. You have to be put in these situations on the practice mat so that when you actually have to pull it out of your belt and use it in real life, you're not taken by surprise. You're not in a state of shock. You don't turtle up. You don't fold like a lawn chair. You fight back. You know what to do. You use your techniques. You use your knowledge. You're calm. You're cool. You're collected. You're a steward of your breathing. You know what to say. You know what to do. Let's see, let me get into Jeff's leaving some comments here. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate you. Out of all the people that are viewing this, you're participating, and I thank you for it. One question I could ask here without intention of insult and not for reasons of any embarrassment is I would simply like to know who has been helped save their property not lost using this process. Well, I, for one, Jeff, have been using this successfully for the past 5 years. Over 5 years, I have stopped bureaucratic trespass for myself. I've stopped bureaucratic trespass for others. My student, Ricardo, Marseille, has also had successes, and it's on down the line. But I know that people want to know, like, how can I say this? Like one guy said, Well, if the fiction can just, even if you're correct that the fiction can just send you to jail anyways, you know, what good is learning it? Well, it's just like I said about martial arts. You can train martial arts for 25 years and be UFC world light heavyweight champion and get jumped in a parking lot and get your ass beat. There goes your 25 years of martial arts experience out the window. It can happen anytime to anybody. That's what I'm trying to say. That's why I say when people want to use this, there are so many factors that go into it. For example, okay, wait, hold on. Let me see your other comment here first. I certainly want to learn, but finding those using it for the right reasons and that can actually help in the end has seemed impossible. Well, what are the right reasons, Jeff? Like what? See, I guess I see what you're saying here, how you want to talk about it in the confidential. But I can talk about it in general. I get emails occasionally from people who, like one guy emailed me and said, Jason, I got a DUI. Can you help me get out of this DUI? And my first question was, were you drinking? And then they stopped talking to me. You have to think about these things very carefully. If you feel you're being trespassed upon, that's one thing. But if you're creating a public safety hazard by drinking and driving, that's a completely different scenario. Why would you do that? Why would you put other people in danger? Or a speeding ticket. Say someone's going 120 miles an hour in a 70 mile an hour speed zone, and they want to use correct sentence structure to get out of the ticket. That's going to fail. I can tell you right now, that's going to fail. Because why would you do that? Why would you create a public safety hazard by going 120 miles an hour in a 70 mile an hour zone? It's common sense. Or the one that a lot of people don't like to hear about, when you agree to a contract, that's under the auspices that you have read the contract. Say, for example, if you agree to a mortgage, first of all, why would you want a mortgage? All right. Wouldn't you want to know what a mortgage is before you agree to it? Wouldn't you want to research it, find out what it is, what it means, blah, blah, blah? If you don't do that, that's on you. And then if you have a mortgage contract that's, I don't know, 20 pages long, and you look at it, well, it's not a mortgage contract, a mortgage agreement, and you read it. And if you don't understand something, ask questions. If you don't understand something and you don't ask questions, again, that's on you. And then if you put your name at the bottom in cursive or whatever it is you use, it's the volition. By putting your name there, whether it's in cursive, correct sentence structure, whatever, scribble, you have basically told the cosmos that you have read that agreement and you're in joinder with it. And now you have to honor it. And then you got people talking about they want to get out of it after they learn about correct sentence structure. That is not correct volition. The only time that correct sentence structure would be used with the balance of honor and grace is if that mortgage company was doing something outside of the bounds of that fiction contract. If they're using something that wasn't put in that contract, like a higher interest rate or some shit like that, then you could bring in the correct sentence structure to level the field. But that's the first rule of judge mechanics, establishing knowledge. If you agree to a contract and you haven't read it, that is your fault. Not their fault, it's your fault. A lot of people don't seem to get that. Like I've stopped the trespass of collection agencies. I vacated all my contracts with the military. Just basically contracts that I felt were trespassing on me. charging me interest, penalties. I did a state tax entity where I got the penalties and interest and all that crap dropped, and they never talked to me again. That's the beauty of correct sentence structure, but it all comes down to you have to know what you're doing. If you're trying to get out of something that you already agreed to, it's not going to work. I agree with Jason. In regards to the circumstances of the fictions charging the man or woman with speeding or drinking and driving, in my opinion, the exact circumstances are important. Correct. When it's drinking and driving or speeding, the question is whether the man or woman is walking in peace and grace. Well, I don't care if you're walking in peace or grace, or if you're walking in anger or fear, or just walking. I mean, I don't know where you're going with that one. What David created this for us to use is for the sole purpose of protecting us against those that trespass and seek to cause them harm with their broken, corrupt system matrix on us, not to escape karma. Well, I'm not so sure that David created this. I know that David published it, but I'm not so sure that he created it. And I've done videos on this, proving my point, where as I studied this over the years, and I gained more and more closure on it, I found that David's website and book, and also private contracts, had a multitude of errors all over it. And there was sort of like a dichotomy between what he taught and what he actually put on paper. And also what he taught, there were some inconsistencies there too, which was very strange to me, which unfortunately I did not get a chance to address with the man because he had passed away. Although I was in contact with him a year before he died, I had said to him, there are errors all over your website. Do you mind if I correct them as I'm learning this grammar? And then he agreed to it. And then I began sending him corrections, and then he would publish the corrections on his website until he passed away. And then, that all stopped. And then Mark lowercase k came in like a pirate and just kind of took everything over. Commandeered everything. But yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if he created it or not. I don't have proof that he did. I have some theories. But we're definitely blessed that David brought this to the public, whether he created it or not. Mortgage is a unilateral contract with only one signature on it. They taught everyone to write in cursive on purpose. That's why they fell for it. It doesn't matter if you write in cursive or if you print or whatever. It's the volition, Wyatt, that's most important. It's the volition. Like, I can put a Mickey Mouse scribble on a contract. I can put my name in dirt, and I will stand behind that contract. It's my volition. You can't tell me what my volition is. I'm the commander of my vessel, and if I choose to authorize my autograph in dirt, so be it. You can't tell me what is fiction or what is not when it's me who's the authority of the contract. And the same goes for you, Wyatt. Now, when we get into correct sentence structure, communication, PARSE, syntax, grammar, we do use things like that, where you have cursive, and then you have italics, brackets, that all falls under the rule of boxing, so on and so forth. But in the world of fiction, you can still navigate with honor and grace. That's another thing that people don't really get. Because really, literally, how are you going to force people to use correct sentence structure? Then you're no better than the fiction if you want to force people to do that. The only time that you would use force in that regard is if you're stopping a trespass. As in, the only time I would use force on someone, and this is a goofy example, but is if they attack me. If they physically attack me, I will force them to stop attacking me. I'll crack their head on the concrete or whatever it is and stop them from attacking me. It's the same thing in the bureaucratic world. you would use correct sentence structure to stop a trespass, stop someone from damaging you. But you can make contract using cursive or using plain English or whatever you want to use, using symbols, using emojis. Contract is contract, as long as you honor it. In Canada, 2 beer in most people will wreck your life. Well, I don't understand why anyone would consume alcohol and drive. I really don't. My name is Devron. By the way, I don't know how to change my name on my YouTube account. You would go into settings and go into profile settings or channel settings. You would have to change it on your Google account, actually. Have you cleared and gained title of property yet? For me, it's not important to get title of property because I don't participate with the concept of ownership, Jeff Louise. The concept of owning anything is repugnant to me. I'm a steward of things, and I have a domicile contract, which I filed in with the local township communities and police stations and things like that. But I don't participate with owning anything, because if you don't own anything, nothing can be taken away from you. I'm a steward. Just like this body I'm walking around in, I don't own it. It's not mine. I didn't create it. I am a steward of it, though. And it's just like with property or whatever. I'm a steward. I don't own anything. That's like people that say, this is my child, my children. The thought of owning another human being is repugnant to me. The thought of owning land is repugnant to me. That's the concept that the settlers brought in 1492 to the Americas. The concept of ownership didn't exist before they came here. And so that's been perpetrated through the rotten system, which did not exist here before the settlers came here. My wife, by the way, is Native American, First Nations, Mohawk and Algonquin. I can see how this works already. The more I learn, the more I want to learn. Determined, please expand on that. I knew David well, and we argued over my passport enhanced license going. Where do I find the rule of boxing? Maritime Styles Manual. No, Wyatt, it's in Black's Law. Matter of fact, you just look it up online in the Black's Law, the law dictionary online, which comes from Black's Law. It tells exactly what edition, but just look up four-corner rule. I have it screenshotted somewhere. I could publish it in my community section if I find it. But yeah, it's in Black's Law. I agree 100%, but when you're being removed from your land after decades of living there over a title or land patent, what then? I'm Apache and I get it. Thanks. You're welcome, Jeff. Well, see, I can't really speak to your situation, Jeff, because I don't know your situation, number one. Number two, all those contracts that you're talking about are fiction. So there's a lot of things that have to be looked at, like a clear chain of title. And again, you know, because they have the bigger guns and clubs, they can come in and eminent domain anything they want to. That's another hard thing for people to get over. It doesn't matter how correct you are. The fiction system has the bigger guns and clubs. That's why they're in power. They can still come down and smash you whenever they want to if you're causing them enough of a pain in the ass or enough of a headache. That's where the peace and neutrality comes in. That's why I can go from point A to point B to point C with very little to no problems. Because I make it clear that I'm not there to mess anybody's day up. I'm not there to give somebody a hard time that's been standing at a kiosk for 8 hours at a TSA checkpoint. I'm not there to give them problems. I'm just there to be correct and to share with them the mechanics of correct sentence structure so that I can navigate the way I want to without messing their day up. It's the same thing with anybody else. I think that's what's missing in a lot of people's navigations is they're not ever thinking about the other party that's involved. They're not thinking or giving consideration. Even though they're being hurt or harmed, it's still, if you're going to think outside the box, there's a reason why people act the way they do. And it's not always because they're out to get you and they're evil. Sometimes it has to do with something else that has nothing to do with you. But that's getting into way more psychology that doesn't really have to do with the grammar. I understand. But how is this process used to continue to be a steward of the land and keep the land? Well, what? You say keep the land. Why do you want to keep the land? The mother is safe and alive. The mother is going to be safe and alive whether we're here or not. That's a funny story, Jeff. I've been talking to some people in positions where are experimenting with artificial intelligence. And their biggest fear is that artificial intelligence will eventually destroy the human race. And the reason is this. If they would task AI to protect the human race from all threats, AI would immediately eliminate the human race. Because what is the biggest threat to the human race? The human race. And that's the biggest threat to planet Earth is the human race. Mother Earth will be just fine no matter what we do. Mother Earth is just fine. I think, and this is my own personal position, that all this other stuff about harming the planet and things like that is just made up propaganda to make money, to do business. Mother Earth is fine. She's been here before you and I were here, and she'll be here long after we're gone. Guaranteed. All you have to do is pour some concrete and don't do anything to it for 5 years and then come back to it and look at it. And you will see how strong Mother Earth is, how resilient she is. Mother Earth has nothing to worry about. Stop it from being pipelined and drilled. Well, that's been happening for thousands of years, hasn't it? Have you ever heard of the copper mines in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan? Those mines are over 10,000 years old. This planet is like, what's that one funny Russian guy made a video a few years ago called what does it say? Darn it. I can't remember the name of the video. No trees on planet Earth or something like that, where the guy said that all of these mountains and stuff we see are not really mountains, but they're just big tree stumps. And he compares like certain places in Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas to quarries. And he says that Earth is a giant quarry. I mean, if you go by history, that's kind of like what it is. It's just the same thing on repeat over and over and over again, really. I think for myself, it's more practical to address matters that are directly in front of me in my personal life and those of the people around me, and try and spread this knowledge to people who want to learn it, not try and force it on people, but people who want to learn it, who come to me to want to learn it, and that's my purpose, that's my function. Whenever I hear the words, we need to help the people, right away I see dollar signs. I see that's a money-making scheme right off the bat. Because the only way that things can get better is through each individually. You do it, someone else does it, you do it for yourself. And then once you do it for yourself, now you can share it with someone else. But first you have to do it for yourself. Like you get people out there that are trying to spread the word of quantum grammar when they don't know shit about it. But yet they're trying to spread the word. They can't do it. And the reason is because they don't know what it is. They try to explain it and they end up sounding like they're a nutcase. That's why it's just so important to buckle down, be patient, and get closure for yourself. And then once you do that, now you can teach somebody else. Now you can actually do something. Now you can actually try and deal with your property problems because you have the knowledge. But first you have to get the knowledge. It's kind of like in Star Wars when Luke goes to Dagobah to learn from Yoda. And they're all like, there's no way he can do this. There's no way he has the patience to sit down and learn this. And sure enough, Luke doesn't have the patience. He leaves. And all kinds of stuff, bad stuff happens. Because he didn't take the time to learn to master the Force. That's why I say only the 1% of the 1% will learn this. Only the 1% of the 1% will actually have the motivation and gumption and wherewithal to take the steps needed to learn this. Thank you, Jeff, for sharing a little bit of your story with us. I appreciate that too. All right, this is supposed to be a troll patrol, but none of the trolls showed up. I'm a little, I don't know, a little bit bummed out, but oh well. It was a good conversation anyways. I'm glad that people participated. I'm glad that people are still here. And I hope... one thing I would like to say, tack it on at the end here. And I'm not being specific. So if anybody out there thinks that I'm talking about them, please refrain from addressing it in a personal manner because I'm not. In the confidential, when I do workshops and things like that and contracts, I have methods where people can donate a gift to me if they wish. I've been doing this for 5 years. And I have a very specific method. And it has been successful. All over the earth, people have been able to use this conduit to deposit value into a port that I give them. I have 2 different ports. And as far as what it looks like on their end, I don't know what it looks like on their end. And if they have more things to learn about banking, then the onus is on them to learn the banking on their end to complete the transaction if they want to send me a gift or a donation. Because you would have to definitely learn that first if you want to proceed with doing the workshops or anything else that you want to send in a donation for. You have to learn banking. That's part of the whole thing. To navigate through the banking system and be your own authority. The bank is a service to you. The bank doesn't tell you what to do. You tell the bank what to do. It's just like if you hire a fiction attorney. They are your employee. You are not they are not your boss. You're their boss. It's the same thing with the banks. The banks are just custom clearinghouse brokers. That's it. I don't mean that you need to demean them and like yell at them or anything, because they're not going to appreciate that. But you definitely, there's a way to approach it. And I don't teach that, of course. That's people skills. But you definitely have to learn things like that sooner or later if you're going to do this correct set and structure stuff. with document, contract, postal vessel, course venues. You're going to have to do banking mechanics, postal mechanics, flag mechanics, and grammar mechanics. It's very important to learn those things. And sometimes when people apply for a workshop and they want to send a donation or a gift, they learn on the spot. And they have to go through some challenges. But if you're meant to do it, if you have the tenacity to do it, you'll figure it out. Because, I mean, I did the exact same thing over 5 years ago when I started. I had to figure this stuff out on my own. I had to go through trials and tribulations, wailing, gnashing of teeth, blood, sweat, and tears, all that stuff. Get frustrated. But the point is, if you're meant to do it, you will do it. If you're motivated to do it, you'll figure it out. Everything is as it should be. That's how I look at it. Thanks for joining me. Appreciate it. Trolls, wherever you are, I'll get you sooner or later. Nah, I'm just kidding. Blessings to all the trolls, too. Hope they have a great evening. Bye-bye.